Hey, what's up everybody? It's Kale here. It's been a while. I've been, again, super busy. Just a theme of 2020, moved into the van, house sitting, doing a bunch of different things that I wouldn't normally do, but enjoying the ride. Today, I thought I'd come back with a surf skate lesson. Some of you guys would know, because I've been talking about it on my own channel, that I've just released the Ultimate Surf Skate Program, a controlled system to finally help you progress your surfing in a controlled environment. And it's been going gangbusters. It's amazing. And a lot of you have joined, which has been absolutely incredible. Today I thought I'd release part of one of the lectures from that series on speed generation, because speed generation has been coming up a lot lately, particularly with the surf in Australia at least going to, approaching summer. It's getting smaller, it's becoming more average. It's been one of the best seasons ever for sure, but when it comes to small waves, you need speed and you need good quality speed flow technique. So I want to talk about that from a surf skate perspective first, and then jump into the surf with a day retreat that I ran, and show you how what we talk about from a mistake perspective then applies in the ocean. Okay, so let's go and do that now. Here's the surf skate segment first. One thing you're going to be super, I think, surprised at is how much crossover there is between that surf skating and surfing. It's very similar movements, and that's why it becomes such an effective training tool. Now, one thing I find common with speed generation is that people either under-rotate or over-rotate different parts of their body during the movement. Remember that with speed generation, our weight should be thrusting forward, down the line of a wave, and not excessively up or down. Yes, there are, of course, elements of the up and down, as we've spoken about, but overdoing it becomes a hindrance when it actually limits your forward momentum. Make sure that with your hip thrust, you are bringing the hips directly through under you, but also with a degree of forward movement. A good way to practice this is to, with very little momentum, see how far you can actually roll on your board with only one extension movement. What if you halve the amount of thrust that you can apply across a given distance? How far can you go? These are ways that we can improve the efficiency of that extension movement and really help transfer it over into our surfing. Now, another mistake that I see is people opening up the shoulders excessively during speed flow. We open up the shoulders during maneuvers for sure to create upper body rotation and torque pressure on the lower body. However, in speed flow, remember, we're moving forward. This tends to move us, if we open our shoulders too much, in ways which slow us down rather than propel us forward. Keep the arms relatively subtle in the speed flow, using them to guide the movement whilst the legs do the work. Remember the hula stance and try to keep your arms close to this throughout the movement. And finally, I also see many surfers not coming off center enough during their surf skating. Due to a lack of confidence or intimidation from the hard ground, it is pretty intimidating, they try to stay too upright over their board. Now, without enough pressure on the toe side or heel side of the board, you'll find that each turn is simply lacking power. There's no way you're going to be able to move up a gradient or translate those movements over to your surfing if you're too upright. Okay, so to fix this issue, think about getting lower to the ground whilst going through the compression component of the movement. Now, I'm actually going to teach you a trick in the next lecture which will absolutely fix this. Okay, so now let's jump into the surf and have a look at how a lot of those common mistakes are actually very, very common. And I talk about them all the time, but I still see them all the time. And a lot of people don't know that they're exhibiting these problems until they see themselves on camera, which is why it's so advantageous to do retreats. So let's have a look here. I had a client who considered himself a beginner, but was really sort of approaching that intermediate stage and was just sort of learning the timing of a speed generation technique. Really good positioning, put himself in quite good positions for the left, but notice how there's a mistiming, there's a lack of coordination in that speed flow technique. And basically that results in a less efficient movement. It results in less speed overall and a less well-surfed wave. Now we saw a little bit of coordination there after we chatted on the beach and sort of looked at things. Here's me goofy to sort of show you what I want to focus on, and that's compressing at the bottom of the wave and extending at the top. Compressing at the bottom, extending at the top. If we watch that clip back again and we sort of pause those main moments, what do you see? The main cues that I'm looking for to know that someone is doing this well is to see right there, you can see my hand is actually dragging on the face of the wave. That becomes an important cue for me to look out for as a coach, to know that the person's getting as low as they need to in order to engage that toe side rail, for instance, on the forehand, that is. Now, at the top of the wave, I want to see them almost straight body for at least a moment. Doesn't have to be straight, it just needs to be an extension, but I like to see them high in that moment there, with almost acting like a sail, if you will. Grabbing all of that speed from the power zone and then compressing it into this coiled spring that you then see. And notice the fluidity of the movement. You don't go from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock without passing through 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It needs to be a gradual and fluid expression and containment of energy. And that's what good surfing looks like. It's fluid, isn't it? Think of Rob Machado here. So if we pull up a side-by-side now, we can see some clear differences. Now what was great, and you can see just, for instance, at that point there, my hands are really on the face of the wave and the surfer's actually quite upright, not really moving into the compressed component of speed flow technique. And again, at the top, you notice he's sort of gone into that extension, but because he wasn't off center enough, there was no rail engagement, he wasn't sent up the top of the wave, so he actually wasn't able to harness any of that speed and gather that speed because he wasn't in the power zone. And then we see here the arms sort of getting a little bit confused and sort of crossing over the body a little bit, which results in, you know, that sort of lack of forward momentum and more upper twisting momentum. Again, if we focus on the main things, getting low at the bottom, high at the top, and pointing to where we want to go, those things don't happen. So we can work on this with the surf skates. Again, this is me goofy here. These are perfect tools in order to practice this because you can get that repetition in. So that was what I was really trying to encourage the surfer to do. And we went off and did a surf skate session. And then we ended up with this little ride here, which actually ended up being probably one of his better rides and the most speed that I had seen relative to wave size. And if we compare them side by side, one of the original rides, compared to this new one over here to the right, we see overall just a lot better flow. Still a few things to work on, but overall in 10 minutes, just to get that fast exchange, I think that's a pretty positive sign. So just to reiterate with speed flow, low at the bottom, hand on the face of the wave, as if you're plucking something off the face of the wave. High at the top of the wave, as if you're then dropping said object over just over the lip, okay? Compressed at the bottom, extended at the top. Point and look where you want to go, and your speed generation will be miles better than when you came into this video. Well, I hope this one helped you guys. If you want to check out the Ultimate Surf Skate program, be sure to check out the link in the description and join me on Instagram and YouTube at Kales Broccoli. I know it's been a while. I'm working on a schedule. I promise. I'm trying to get my schedule. 2021 maybe. Okay. Thanks, guys. See ya.